Rutgers fans, we're bringing everything you love about the Jersey Boardwalk to SHI Stadium this year. Welcome to the Rutgers Boardwalk. The Rutgers Boardwalk. It's the only place to be before every Rutgers home game.
New Jersey, the home of Rutgers football.
And they continue to chop away. What an awesome way to start the season. Hope you're enjoying your Labor Day as summer comes to a close. But boy, based on what we saw on Saturday, we have got a fall to look forward to for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Welcome, everybody, to week 2 of Shop Weekly right here on YouTube. Thanks so much for joining us. In just moments, we're going to hear from the head coach, Greg Schiano. I'm Chris Carlin. We welcome in Eric LeGrand off of the Rutgers victory the other day against Boston College and come from behind fashion, down 2 scores in the second half, Eric. They're able to come back and get the win by one of the more impressive drives we have seen from Rutgers in a long time. First things first, though, happy birthday, my friend. Yesterday, his 32nd birthday for Mr. LeGrand.
Yes, it feels good. I feel every bit of 32, as we just were talking about before, Chris. But I will say, coming on here after a victory is always fun, but the way and the fashion that they did it up at Alumni Stadium in Boston College was just truly remarkable and really impressed me. The way that the game started and looked so pretty to where they ended off and how they did it and in the fashion that they did it. Honestly, Chris, couldn't be happier.
Coach Schiano's press conference weekly, getting ready for Wagner this coming week, is coming up in just moments. We'll have his comments for you, so stay with us for that. Eric, let's look back, though, on Saturdays. You got a pretty nice birthday present with that win. And look, there's an awful lot to chew on from that game. A first half that was forgettable, mistakes that you want to get in your past, but they were able to do that in the second half. They came right out, capitalized on a turnover on the very first series, and then later on found themselves down 9, but were able to fight back and put together just an absolutely fantastic 12-play, 96-yard drive, 11 of those plays on the ground as the Rutgers offensive line took the game over.
As you mentioned, yes, in the beginning of the game, I guess Coach mentioned nervous jitters. People were a little bit sloppy out there trying to get that first game feeling out, and sometimes it looked a bit ugly. And, and I know Coach Schiano, if I know the way I do know him, he's not going to let that happen anymore. I know they're going to focus on those penalties because those are crucial moments in the game. It doesn't matter if it's the first half or the second half, but they tightened up and they got it together. And that last drive, I'll tell you what, Chris, watching the way that offensive line played in rhythm, especially the way that it's been talked about through the entire offseason, throughout Coach Schiano's now 3 years back at Rutgers, the biggest emphasis has been the offensive line, but they finally got to show what they can do on that last drive and straight punching somebody in the face over and over and over again and giving the holes and watching those running backs too, what they were able to do with the ball. So it was an overall great win for the Scarlet Knights. And as we see that last touchdown right there by Salam, truly incredible.
Eric, I thought one of the more underrated aspects of the game is that what really allowed them to do that, time of possession was even through that point. It was never really in favor of Boston College. So that defense had to be on the field quite a bit in the heat, and that certainly helped wear them down. And you have 4 of 5 new starters on that offensive line who looked like they came together pretty nicely. It's not like they didn't have success running the ball earlier. Prior to that drive, they had 115 yards rushing on the day.
Hey, Coach Schiano always talks about the 60-minute chop, being able to stay focused on the task at hand for that amount of time. They knew what had to be done there. They had 96 yards to go. They didn't know if they would get the ball back or opportunity to be able to put points on the board. So they said, you know what? We have the length of the field to drive. Let's go to what we've been finding success with. And that was on the ground. And those 5-yard gains turn into 15-yard gains, turn into 20-yard gains. When you keep on wearing down the defense, wearing them down. And I'll tell you what, Chris, being on the other side of the ball, the defensive side, when a team is just running it down your throat and you can't do nothing, you get fully disheveled. You don't know what to do. You're just leaning on guys. All the technique goes out the window when you're just getting pounded and pounded on. And that's exactly what happened to the Boston College defense on that drive. They weren't fitting the holes the right way. They were in the wrong places, missing tackles. And that's just what happens when a team can wear you down like that.
And Eric, another aspect of it, the turnovers. Rutgers forcing 3 turnovers on the day, turned it over themselves just once. Since Coach Schiano has been back in the 24 games, since the beginning of 2020, Rutgers is a combined over those 2+ seasons plus 10. And that was a number that was not in the plus category for a long time before that.
The ball is the program. You protect the ball with everything that you have, and you take the ball away. And it's a saying that we go by on defense, CTOTTY. Catch the ones that they throw to you. When the opportunity presents itself, you have to make those game-changing plays because it changes the momentum of everything. You get a fumble, you get on the ground right inside your own 5-yard line, you got to score. And then you get those 2 big interceptions. It just demoralizes the offense. And you could tell Phil Jerkovic, he was getting – a little bit of show, especially on that last one. You can see he was wearing his all on his shoulder right there, just going out there, just like, damn, I messed up. The wide receiver was supposed to be there, and it's just you could tell that it was wearing on him in the game, and also the defense pounded on him a good amount, Chris.
Yep. They absolutely did. Wesley Bailey with back-to-back sacks down the stretch of that game to help put it away. He was in on the first one with Christian Isian, another guy who had a phenomenal game the other day. That Rutgers defense did a very good job of not making him feel terribly comfortable. And also, Eric, they didn't let him get outside very much to make plays, and that is where he is extremely effective.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because in the first half, we saw a little bit when he was scrambling and he would find Zay Flowers in between the soft coverage of those zones, and he was eating them up when he was getting outside the zone. But you can see, outside the pocket, you can see that the halftime adjustments were keep him inside and continue to get pressure up his face, right in his face. If you couldn't get 4 there, Schiano was sending 5, 6 guys at a time. And as long as you can get pressure up the middle, it changed the quarterback that he was. He was inaccurate after that. He wasn't able to push the ball down the field, wasn't able to sit back and find his targets down the field, all because of that pressure. Then I mentioned this on the postgame, Chris. Being a part of Coach Schiano's type defenses, we're always talking about you hit the quarterback for 3 quarters. In the 4th quarter, they won't want to throw it anymore. They're going to be nervous. Their feet are going to be rattling, and that's what you can tell. Phil Jerkovic did not want to throw in that 4th quarter. He was a little bit nervous back then. He was rattled. And it just showed, and the defense continued to just impose their will on that young BC offensive line.
This is Chop Weekly, week 2. Rutgers getting set for the home opener this week against Wagner. We're going to hear from the coach, Greg Schiano, in just moments in his weekly press conference previewing that game. And we've got a lot of good things going on at SHI Stadium this week for the home opener. We've got fireworks after the game. Before the game, we've got the Rutgers Boardwalk. It's going to have games. It's going to have all kinds of food trucks, the best in New Jersey. It's going to be an awesome setup for all the fans out there tailgating this week.
Hey, Chris, I heard there might be a Ferris wheel. Are you going to get on that?
I don't know. They may have a weight limit. I don't know if I'll be allowed to get on that.
All right, so we both can't get on that. We're both not going to make it on that.
Listen, if they let me, I will. I absolutely. But they've got rides, they've got everything that the family would want. Awesome food. I can't wait to take a stroll down there. I'll be getting there early on Saturday for that 4:00 kick. There's just going to be so many different things to really allow families to enjoy it. And the Rutgers Boardwalk is going to be something new all season long for fans and for families to really get a chance to enjoy. So Coach Schiano is getting set to come in for his press conference. Interested to hear his thoughts a couple of days later, having watched the tape, and if there was anything else that kind of stuck out about the victory over Boston College. But also, he's always very much a look-forward guy. What's next? And what's next is the Wagner Seahawks, who come, of course, out of Staten Island down the turnpike to SHI Stadium, and Rutgers getting a chance to finish or to play out their non-conference schedule. Wagner this week, and then next week it'll be a trip down the turnpike themselves to go to Temple to play the Owls. But this week, important to get a win over a team in Wagner that is out of the FCS. Nonetheless, Eric, as we know, no opponent can be taken lightly. We have seen it far too many times.
Far too many times. And even watching some games this week, watching Iowa even struggle a little bit, but I found a way to get a 7-3 victory. You never want to take opponent lightly. You want to go out there. Yes, you have better athletes. You have bigger, stronger, faster players. Yes, doesn't, obviously we all know that, but that doesn't mean any given Sunday can't happen, or any given Saturday, I should say, for football. But this is where Rutgers really is. This is where you got to get better, QB play. Your wide receivers got to get into them. You got to get your offensive line some confidence. On the defensive side, you go out there, you try to create as many turnovers as you can, because this sets you up going forward into the season. When you play an FCS program like this, obviously, like I said, we don't want to take them lightly, but this is where you get a chance to really try different things that you've learned over the spring and into the summer, different techniques that you want to go out there and try to be able to use, because you don't get really too many opportunities like this. So you try to take full advantage of it, but also try to come out the game as healthy as possible and get a victory.
Virginia Tech, Old Dominion this weekend. Take a look. This happens, and you have to be very cautious. Here's the coach, Greg Schiano.
I like it. Thanks for coming out, guys. Try to answer anything I can. Big week here. We're starting academics tomorrow. School starts tomorrow, so there's a lot going on in our building right now. Everyone getting ready. I think that's something that's lost often on people. They watch the games on TV and they see these big, fast guys running around, making great plays. Being a student athlete at Rutgers is a huge challenge. Academically, it's such a competitive school. So not only do we compete in the Big Ten Conference, but academically, these guys are competing every day in the classroom and every evening in the classroom. So we had a great summer. Everybody is eligible for the season. And I thought we really did well in the classroom this summer. So now we got to pick it up again here starting tomorrow. Big week. First game, we had some first game jitters. We had some guys that were playing for the first time. We played multiple quarterbacks. There's a lot of stuff that we have to sort through and get better. Really get better. We had 10 penalties. That's not who we are, but we did it. So it is. We got to clean that stuff up. So there's so much to work on. Wagner's coming in. They had a tough game with Fordham. So I'm sure they're going to be hungry and come in here looking to impress. And, to me, it's about us. We got to get better. And just like last week was about us, this week's about us. So questions?
Greg, I wanted to ask you about Noah. How has he handled the injury, and what kind of role has he played with the younger guys while he's been out?
He's been great with the younger guys. He's coached them. Noah wants to go into coaching when he's done playing. So he's done an awesome job. He's helped me. He's helped Sean quite a bit. He's handling it well, but he's like a caged animal. He wants to play, and this is very frustrating to him. So, but we'll just week to week and see how it heals.
How much do you feel like you're learning about this team and individual players just because they are so young and what they can do, and how does that kind of impact what each week of practice is like for you?
Quite a bit, Chris. It's a good point in that it's not only the young guys that haven't played, like a guy like Wesley Bailey who hasn't played football for us. All of a sudden he goes out and he really has a good game, right? A very productive game. Well, okay, that's good. Then there's some other guys, a guy like Desmond Igmanuson got a little time in the bowl game, and now he goes out and plays, I don't know, he played 70, 80 plays and did a good job. Like those things you have to now assess and say, okay, so now what? What's the next step for them? How do we redistribute some of the repetitions? Offensive line, there's a lot of different areas that we have to address. And I mentioned it in the open with improvement. So As I said to our coaches, we had a great workout last night. We just have so much to do. It's almost, overwhelming, but we just got to keep chopping. That's what chopping is, just chop the moment, whatever we're working on right now. And, we'll run out of time. There's no doubt, but how much can we get done before the kickoff at 4:00? That's our goal.
Before getting into the question, just to be sure, the 2-quarterback system is still a possibility for Saturday, correct?
Anything's so we don't have to answer this too many more times going forward. This will be a blanket statement for the whole year. Whatever gives us the best chance to win is a possibility. So then basically anything's a possibility if it gives us a chance to win.
Sure. So to that effect, with the 2-quarterback system, can you take us through a bit about the decision-making process on who makes the decisions, how the decision of who comes in when, who comes out when, how that comes about? Just how do you guys go about making those decisions?
Well, ultimately, personnel is my decision, right? I listen to all my coaches. I watch the video with them. I watch it separately. I get a lot of reports come to me. But at the end of the day, that's my job as the head coach. During the game, I give my coaches latitude based on what they want to call, who they want doing it. And I thought Sean and the offensive staff did a good job, really good job of managing that. But some of that is, subjective, right? I mean, how do you know? You don't know. They're human beings. You don't know how people are going to react. Neither one of those quarterbacks have played a substantial amount of football. So, you're getting to see it just as we are. We see it in practice, but the games are different. I mean, we all know that. And so we're learning about them and just as everybody is. And then, when are you going to name a starter, again, when it gives us the best chance to win.
Coach, obviously you're on the precipice of a milestone you would tie Frank Burns this week if you win for the most wins ever at Rutgers. What's something that you learned from Frank Burns as a coach, and how is he able to build this how is he able to first identify Rutgers and build that into a program? What did you learn from him?
Well, Coach Burns, I got the opportunity in my first go round to meet him. Unfortunately, his health had failed later on, but I really enjoyed it. He was such I don't know what the word is, stately. Like, he had that white, when I got to know him, he had that white hair, and he was just such a gentleman that I was so impressed being around him. And, we would talk football. He was a tough guy. I mean, he was legitimate, old school, do it right, work hard, and good things happen. And, we didn't really ever talk X's and O's as much as we talk philosophy, head coaching things. So I always enjoyed my time with Coach. I've been blessed. I've had some great people that I've had a chance to be around.
What are you seeing now from Christian Broswell, and also just the way he handled coming back from the injury, the adversity, and obviously made a big play the other day. So what are you kind of seeing from him? Yeah,
I was glad. I mean, I'm certainly happy that for our team, but I was really glad for him individually because he's been up against it, right? I mean, he decides to transfer here, and then in the summer hurts his knee, misses the entire season, then has some health issues this spring. I know the way he felt. He felt like snake bit, like, well, when's it going to end? And to make a big play like that was so good for him and so good for us. So I'm hoping this is kind of as I said to him, this is a launching pad for you right now.
Taj Harris, 11 snaps, 1 catch. Why was his role so limited?
Oh, I think, it's just competition. We have a lot of guys that are playing, you saw we played a lot of guys at a lot of positions, and that was on purpose. And, I'm hopeful that his reps will grow as we get more and more comfortable. He's a newcomer who has really worked hard to get himself in a position to compete. So I'm hopeful that grows.
There's no injury or suspension or any issue of that nature?
No, there was nothing other than just playing a lot of people.
Greg, we talked a lot about the
double
linebackers.
mics. I didn't realize we had double mics. That's tricky. That's good.
You talked a lot about the linebackers coming into the season. How would you assess Tyreme and Deion's performance in week 1?
Yeah, I thought they played well. I thought they both played well. Again, Dion played a lot more his first year with us than his second. And then Tyreen played last year. He got a start actually at Indiana. And, but I thought, you never really know. And now they were the guys, right? And I thought they performed well. It's a good, again, a launching pad for them. Again, all of this is a starting point. And, because we win by 1 point, it all feels so different. But had we not, if Kyle Monungai doesn't get that fumble, we don't win the game, right? So now everything feels differently. So that's what I tried to talk to the team about is, the 150 text messages that were on your phone after the game would have been 0. And 1 point is what changes all that. And that's what they have to understand. That's the fine line in major college football. So what does that mean? Is it you sit there and worry about that? No, it's all about the preparation, what you're willing to put forth, the effort you're willing to put forth, the attention to detail all week long. We had some guys cramp. I don't have a lot of sympathy for crampers. That's about preparation. You have to prepare, you have to drink, throughout the game. It's easy to get distracted and not do that. I think all of these things are what we learned. Those penalties, a lot of them were unforced errors. That's not who we are, but we did it. So it is until we change it. That is who we are. Those are the things that we have to work on this week. And there's got to be laser focus on that. So that's my job, and that's our staff's job to make sure that we aid and help these guys take them where they want to go. There's no lack of want to. There's no lack of hard work. But we have to learn to be where our feet are and really focus on that moment. We call it chop the moment. We have to do that. When we did that, we were good Saturday. When we didn't, we made silly mistakes, and we didn't perform even close to our capabilities.
Obviously, you said it's better to teach from the win column, obviously, than the loss column. But starting 1-0, beating Boston College, from your perspective, what does that mean for your team moving forward?
I told our team this. Boston College and Rutgers all had the same goal. We wanted to be 1-0 at the end of the first game. So we got that done, and that feels good, right? When you work really hard at something and then you achieve it. But now that's done. And as I told them, we have a 24-hour rule like a lot of teams do, and we celebrated the win. Yesterday, we were in here watching the tape, and there's so much on that tape to correct. There's no way we can possibly get it all corrected in a week's time. But we're going to work. And as I told them, the key is don't make the same mistakes twice. If we can correct a mistake and not make it, there's new mistakes that'll be made. But if we can keep from making the same mistakes. And the other thing I said is if one guy makes it, we all make it. Let's learn from each other's mistakes. That's what we need to do. There'll be plenty of mistakes, but as the year goes on, when you have a really good football team, you start running out of mistakes. They become fewer and far between. But I'll tell you what, that sheet was just full of them Saturday. And I'm grateful for how hard they played. If they didn't play that hard, we wouldn't have won. My hat's off to our strength and conditioning staff. Our team was very well conditioned. And to be able to do what they did in the fourth quarter is critical. But that's a testament to their conditioning, how much the strength and conditioning staff and the players put into it this summer. So we have a base, but we have to correct these mistakes, and it's a challenge. It's going to be a race. Right now, time is our enemy. We don't have enough time to get it all fixed, but we're going to try. Appreciate you.
All right, so that's Rutgers head coach Greg Schiano. Just a couple of things that come to mind right away, Eric, off of what he had to say. First of all, the fact that school starts tomorrow, and this is now a whole different dynamic because prior to this, it had been all football through camp and through getting ready for Boston College. But now is when it really gets tricky for the student athlete. And I have always felt that there is a kind of, I don't want to say lack of understanding, but not quite grasping exactly what the schedule is like for a student athlete during their season.
Yeah, it's pretty hectic, Chris. I tell you what, every hour has to be blocked off on your calendar. And I know every morning we're academic advisor, and you go through every hour of your day, and they have to check off on that. And when morning practices, obviously you get in, you have your breakfast, you watch film, then you go out to practice, and then after that you have your day where you have classes, you have lifting, you have study hall throughout the day. So it's a long day. When we had afternoon practices, I felt like it was even longer because we would have classes and lifting in the morning. Then you would have your practice in the afternoon. Then you would have night classes and then try to figure out study hall. So it is a crazy schedule, but once you adapt to it, it just becomes normal. But in the beginning, Chris, it's still very hard to get a part of that flow. But until you do it and really understand it, it's really hard to break down how crazy that schedule is. But that's why not everyone can do it.
Noah Vedral, it was announced prior to the game on Saturday, is week to week. He did not play, as we know, with an undisclosed injury. He comes from a long line of coaches. His grandfather was his high school coach, his father, his uncles, all coaches as well out in Nebraska on the high school level. And that's something that he wants to do down the line too. So when you have this 2-quarterback system, Eric, how valuable can Noah be here while he is healing up and trying to get back on the field in helping out both Gavin Wimsatt and Evan Simon?
This is Noah being thrown into a position where he wants to be. This is what he wants to do after he's done playing. So he's getting every opportunity to do it now. Yes, Coach mentioned he wants to be out there. He's competitive. He's fiery. He wants to be able to perform right now. But this is an opportunity for you to show your leadership skills when it's trying to lead these young guys, trying to explain to them, trying to help them slow down the game for them, because Noah has played a lot of football here at Rutgers. So he knows what is in and out, what it takes when things go wrong and when things are going right. So he needs to help these guys as much as he possibly can right now in their mind and taking them through it and try to slow that game down as much as possible. Because as Coach mentioned, neither of these guys that are playing right now have had a huge amount of experience out there on the field.
Eric, assess the quarterbacks for us if you can, what you saw from both Gavin and Evan on Saturday.
But Evan, I was saying in the post-game show, Chris, that I saw he was very accurate in his short, immediate throws, 5 to 10 yard routes, hitting the tight end right up the seam. Evan was very good at that. Held on to the ball a little bit too long and needs to recognize the blitz a little bit better so he doesn't get creamed coming off the edge. And then with Gavin, I said, needs to be more accurate. Calm down a little bit. You don't have to put, all that Dijon mustard on every single throw that you're whipping down the field. You can, lob it thing. But Gavin is a playmaker. He can make plays with his feet. He makes you have to respect him as a runner as well. We saw what he was able to do on that 48-yard carry that he had. But he just has to get a little bit more accurate, let the game slow down a little bit. But you see the big playability that he brings.
This Saturday, Coach Schiano has a chance to tie the all-time record for Rutgers coaches' career wins, and that belongs to Frank Burns, who has 78 career wins. Greg Schiano now has 77 after Boston College this past Saturday. Frank Burns is somebody that I talked to back in 2002 when Rutgers was going to play at Tennessee. And it was a fascinating interview because Rutgers, back in the day in the 70s, had gone to Tennessee and had won 13-7 in just an incredible upset. And one of the headlines leading up to that game down in Knoxville was, "What's a Rutgers?" And they found out for sure. Coach Burns, really a legend, 78-43-1, his all-time record at Rutgers. So Coach now gets a chance to tie that record and potentially break it as well down the line here. Eric, just being around Coach as long as you have, what are the things that come to mind that make him so effective, particularly in the Rutgers community?
His attention to detail. He understands the Jersey character, the Jersey nature, the high school football programs, getting them together in the offseason, having the coaches' clinics, being a presence around the state of New Jersey. And that extends also to PA, Connecticut, all the way down into Florida, New York. He has that presence there, and people respect him. He's a man of his word. He's not always, as you said, as you saw him talk about the cramping, he has really no sympathy for that. Believe me, been around that. I had a cramp in the game, UConn, in 2009 when Tim Brown scored a touchdown. On that kickoff, I got a cramp. Acted like it was a Charlie horse. I remember I got hit in the leg. I was like, there's no way I'm showing Coach Schiano. I'm cramping right now. But it's just the type of guy he is. Very, hard-nosed, and he's trying to make the best out of each one of his guys. And he's very demanding. But that's how he earns your respect, because how he can stay laser focused day in and day out. And as he says, chop them home and stay focused on the task at hand. You look up to him, you're like, wow, he's trying to take these young boys and turn them into grown, respectable men from 18 to 22 years old.
Eric, it's funny. You get a chance here this week and to get back home. You have your home opener against the Wagner Seahawks, as we know. But there are going to be so many different things for fans to experience prior to the game. And it's going to be an awesome sight. It's always great to get back for the home opener. 4 p.m. is the kick this week for the Back to the Birthplace game. We've got post-game fireworks, but the Rutgers Boardwalk, as we mentioned earlier, with food trucks, with all kinds of games, with all kinds of fun rides for kids and families. It's really an awesome idea that they are setting up here right in the tailgate area. And I'm very much looking forward to this. Is going to be live entertainment. Very much looking forward to getting a great view of this leading up to the Scarlet Walk on Saturday.
Absolutely. The Scarlet Walk is obviously that's the iconic moment before the game, but now you get to introduce the boardwalk. You get these small businesses out there supporting the Rutgers community, something that you would get as we're looking at Seaside Park right now, that you can get, a cheesesteak or a sausage sandwich right on the boardwalk. Because now, right here at Rutgers, as you go into the game, exactly. See, I know as you were mentioning food, now I'm starting to get hungry as well. But
sausage, Eric, hit me before kickoff. Oh boy.
Exactly. So you're bringing in a whole bunch of new Rutgers fans and people that just want to be a part of the community. You can bring your kids out there, gives them something to do, especially sometimes you're just tailgating, having fun. No, go take a walk up the boardwalk, let your kids ride the rides, eat some great food, enjoy the moment, and then get ready to come into the stadium for a great game. That's what it's all about. Back to the birthplace, as you mentioned.
Looking forward to it. It's this Saturday. Of course, you can catch the action on Big Ten Network. Jason McCourty will be on the color analyst on the Big Ten Network, and, of course, on the Rutgers Learfield Sports Network with myself, Mike Teal, Eric on the call, Mark Malusis, Julian Penix-Odrick, and Anthony Fusilli as well. We're looking forward to seeing you at SHI Stadium this coming Saturday, 4 p.m. kick. Get out there early to experience the boardwalk and stay late for all the fireworks, as well as Rutgers opens their home schedule against Wagner. This has been Chop Weekly. Thanks so much for watching here in week 2. For Eric LeGrand, I'm Chris Carlin. We'll see you Saturday on the Banks.